Blind taste tests prove it. Tabasco Salsa Picante wins. The superior Mexican-style hot sauce.
Welcome to Takeaway with Sam Oches, a podcast for leaders of growing restaurant companies looking to take their businesses to the next level. In nearly 2 decades covering restaurants, I've gained access to some of this industry's most influential decision makers, and I'm letting you in on the conversations. In today's episode, you'll hear from the CEO of an emerging pizza chain about why he's slashing prices even as his competitors increase them, and how he's setting the stage for long-term growth. Mike Burns is the CEO of And Pizza, a fast casual pizza joint based in Washington, D.C. that has grown to 45 locations. And Pizza made headlines earlier this year when it announced that it would buck the trend and cut its menu prices, offering unlimited free toppings with its $12 personal-sized pizzas rather than charging for toppings. Mike joined the podcast to share how And Pizza is staying profitable with this change and why it's an especially important strategy as the brand franchises for the first time. In this conversation, you will learn more about why you have to strategize in years, not months, how cutting prices is more of a volume play than a gimmick, and why your most important customer is your returning customer. If you learned something from this episode, go follow Takeaway wherever you listen to podcasts and leave some feedback. It's the best way to get that lesson to a fellow restaurant leader. Jumping now into my interview with And Pizza CEO Mike Burns. Also, don't forget to stick around after the interview as I will share my 5 takeaways from this discussion, actionable insights that you can take with you on the go. I'm sitting down with Mike Burns, the CEO of And Pizza. Mike, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Sam. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so Mike, let's talk about first this brand. I just told you before we hit record, but this is a brand I've followed for many, many years, since the days it was just a small emerging chain in DC. Now you have dozens of locations on the East Coast. And And Pizza is all about vibe. That's one thing I've always known about this brand. It's really about the vibe of the restaurant more than anything. But for those who have not had a chance to visit one of these shops, what is the essence of And Pizza?
I think vibe's the right word, right? The ampersand stands for unity. We try to bring people together over pizza. Michael Lastory, our founder, started the first restaurant on H Street in DC. The original sign's still there. It says H and Pizza. Obviously, the plan was to have 1 or 2. When you have 45, you can't have everything say like, Sam and Pizza or, whatever the street name is And Pizza. Stands for unity, about bringing communities together. We feel like our food is not just a pizza shop. It's more of an experience, right? It's kind of a lifestyle brand that serves pizza. But yeah, we're super stoked. The vibe's the right word to have it. You walk into our shops, our people are super unique. We want people to come to work as they are. We want our customers to feel comfortable. Really loud music, just a fun vibe when you walk in the door.
You've been CEO now for a year or 2, still relatively new. And, you come with, I know in your background, Rave Restaurant Group, you were with before, you were with Bojangles. Hayway, tell me about, what you saw of this brand when you were coming in, what the opportunity you saw with And Pizza.
Yeah, I like regional brands that have a strong cult following, right, in the markets that they operate. Bojangles was like that. I was there for 12 years. Saw them grow from 350-ish restaurants to 750, running about 200 when I left. Again, strong presence in the Southeast. I feel like you can take those brands because customers remember them. Like there's a lot of like latent equity in those brands. They feel like Payway was the same way. Iconic in the Southwest, was a little wobbly on the tires. Just remind customers why they loved it in the first place. I think it's an easy fix. You fix some operations, fix some marketing, the brand skyrockets. Pizza Inn was the same way. Like the sleepy brand since the 50s, had 1 million locations, shrunk down, and I felt like we did a pretty good job over there too, kind of growing that brand and getting them back to prominence. So, and Pizza, I saw the same thing. It was a really strong presence in the DMV. Customers loved us. We should have had more restaurants than we did. We did a few things, blips along the way, like especially during COVID, that didn't really help the brand. But we flipped from a business that was 70% dine-in to 70% takeout like overnight. So those challenges are hard to just fix overnight. But I love the brand, love the food. Michael's great, the team's great. So it just felt like a right fit for me.
So, I mean, one of the I think differences with And Pizza compared to your past brands that you were just talking about is it's only been around for, 12, 13 years, I guess now. And fast casual pizza had this explosion in the early 2010s. So when you look at some of those other brands you were talking about, they've been around for decades and they've had all this time to kind of develop some persona and develop a loyal customer base. And pizza, shorter time frame. And if you broaden the aperture to the fast casual pizza category in general, some could say that category is kind of flamed out. It's kind of burned bright for a bit and then kind of flamed out. Some brands just totally went away. And now, a couple who are really sort of retooling, and pizza being one of them, Blaze Pizza, we see one of your competitors that's been doing that as well. What is the process of kind of emerging from that sort of burn bright period of fast casual pizza to what you guys are setting up for the future?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken on other podcasts and some panels before, like fast casual pizza in its current state is dead. Right? Like it just isn't the same. You would come in, you'd walk the line, you'd order your pie, you'd sit down, you'd mess around on your phone, you'd have you drink your Coke or Pepsi and you'd leave. This is different, right? Now we've had to convert from a business again. Most people came in and sat down. So the vibe in the restaurant was really cool. How do you take that vibe and move it to social media, through influencers, through, TikTok, Instagram, and with different marketing ideas you have just to kind of make that brand. We want people to feel like they still have that same pizza experience at home that they did when they used to go to the restaurants before. And I feel like we've done a pretty good job of that. We still have a little ways to go. But we feel like, we want people to still feel that same. I remember going there and now we're starting to see people get their food to go and then come back, more repeat visits in the restaurants because they liked what they saw before. And it kind of triggers them like, oh, I remember that place. I'm going to go back there.
I sympathize with you restaurant leaders who are trying to figure out this. How do you solve for the fact that customers want experience? This is what everybody tells me. Experience, right? That's the differentiator between a brand that, you keep in your consideration set and one that you try and then you never go back to, is you have a great experience. But then on the flip side, 70% of business going out the door and that experience is outside of your control. For Pizza, as you do aim to create that same vibe, that same experience for off-premises menu orders, how can you do that? What are those things you can control and create a still a unique experience even at home?
We think we can do it through our packaging. We think we can do it through some things on social media. We're very interactive. If we're going to launch a product, we'll ask, we'll post on X or Instagram or whatever and say, hey, what do you guys think of this? And people tell us. We want people to feel like they're part of something. And we feel like we sell really one thing. We sell pizza, right? We sell dough. We sell dough in various forms, whether it's a knot, a dessert, whatever it is, but we sell one thing. So how do you get that person to really get that one thing and have a good time at home? Nothing's more personalized than making your own pizza, right? We've done this case study. Moms love us because when you have children, you stop being able to order your own pizza. You just do that. So this allows them to go in, order whatever they want. They don't have to share it. It's theirs. It's their own. They can own it. And we feel like that kind of helps. We also, I think people got too cute by, trying to, prices of food would go up. So people would raise prices. Well, when the food prices came down, they didn't reduce prices, right? They just kind of kept them up. So I think the consumers kind of caught on to that after a while.
All right, let's go that direction because this is something you're pretty passionate about, which is, acknowledging, hey, prices got out of control here and we need to pull back on prices. Hey, look, as a consumer, I can 100% line up behind that. Everybody knows that prices are out of control. I've got one of those budget apps, and that the budget app, every time we do grocery shopping now says abnormally high purchase. And I'm like, no, that was just my grocery order, dude.
It's normal. Yeah. I got milk.
It's normal. It's insane. You're out here really kind of owning that. You're trying to say, hey, this is not normal and we want to do better. And you guys did slash your prices. Tell me about that decision, because look, you as the CEO, you also still have to ensure profitability for the company. So you can't just say, oh, magically poof, we're going to do, lower prices. There's work you got to do there. So what goes into that decision when you made that decision to cut back on the prices?
Everything we do here, we look at it 2 or 3 years out, right? What's the decision we're going to make today going to help us 2 or 3 years from now? I think a lot of people in the restaurant industry think it 2 or 3 months out from now. How do I just chase that next thing? We're lucky we have a good sponsor, Kennedy Lewis Investments out of New York City. They've been great to us since we got here because this is a long-term play for us and them. They're in this for the long haul. So for us, we talk to consumers. We've done consumer research. They were telling us our food's too expensive, which we hear every industry, every restaurant hears the same thing. But we launched franchising back in March. And franchisees always want to charge more. And we're sitting down with potential franchisees and they're saying, hey, can we dial the menu prices back when we open these restaurants? That kind of got us to thinking. So we did more and more research. Pre-COVID, you could get a pie at Ant's Pizza for $12.29. As many toppings as you wanted, that's what it cost, $12.29. Then somewhere along the way, we raised prices to $12.59, $12.79, which you're thinking that's not that unreasonable. But what we did, we started charging for toppings on top of it. So a pie that you might have got in, even fast forward to anywhere of 2023, might have cost $12.79 plus tax. Fast forward to November of 23, that same pizza, if you get 5 or 6 toppings, is now like 16 or 17 bucks. So like the customer's not going to come in and just like not order it. They've come there for lunch. They've made their decision. They're going to pay their $16, but they're probably not going to come back. Right. So, or they're going to come back less frequently, no matter how much they love the vibe, the food. So we really made sure what we were doing was going to work long term. And we also, the funnel, it's easy funnel, just turn on third party. Like, let's just juice Uber Eats, let's juice DoorDash, let's bring people in that way. Sales are soft, prices are higher over there anyways. We'll see a peak, but then the profitability goes down, right? Because they take a big percent. Okay. So we made the strategic decision to what's the best thing for this business 3 years out? More foot traffic in restaurants, more people clicking on our apps. So we had to make sure our app was right. We did a click study. Order a pizza was like 10 or 12 clicks, which isn't good enough. So you can order a Tesla in like 2 clicks, right? But you have to order a pizza in 12. So we switched it now. So now we've gone through it. If you just want one of the pies that we have, 2 clicks, you're out the door, right? 3 clicks if you want to check out. So you're done. So we made that experience seamless, but we wanted people to come back. So our in-shop traffic now is higher than it's been since 2021. People are coming back. People are ordering on the app. We also launched this thing called an and pass. We wanted people to come in the door. So for $39.99 over 30 days, you could get a pie a day. Pie a day for 30 days for $39.99. Great deal. We had 3,700, I think, people buy that pass, and 55% of the people redeemed it. So you're probably like, holy shit, like, is that like you guys lost money? We didn't, because we see it as advertising. And out of those people, 40% of them never came to an and pizza before. So now we have 40% of we have 1,700 new people that have now come in the restaurant that never came to us before. So we feel like we're building habits that way. But $12 is kind of where you need to be. But once you get a drink, you're out the door, you're at $15. Like that to me seems reasonable. Before, out the door with a drink, you're at like 21. Like it's expensive. Like we know it is. So we're playing the long game.
You have 2 things as I see it that kind of are challenges in your category. So with the pizza category, first thing is pizza historically known as a something that you can stretch over a couple of days. I tell you myself, I'm your typical American family. We do Friday night pizza night, and then we do Sunday night pizza leftovers. and that's you get a large pizza and you've got multiple meals. You know, for and pizza, you guys are doing personal pies. So that's one thing. But the second thing is that this category is so deal oriented. Any of the major chains that I log into their app on Friday night to order a pizza, I don't have to search for the deals. They're right at the top. Which deal do you want to apply? Which coupon do you want to apply to your order? So which is to say that like the pizza customer is trained to believe that this is a value play. So how do you take those 2 things into consideration for and pizza, where it's a little harder to do that with a personal pie, and also value is a trickier thing when you're not the massive size of a Domino's or a Pizza Hut?
We can't compete with Domino's and Pizza Hut and Papa John's. We know that. Like that's and the research shows us we don't compete. When people don't come to us, they're not coming to us. They're going to Cava, Chipotle, Sweet Greens. Like we're a fast casual segment, right? So to try to play into the teeth of those behemoths that can just click a button, go on TV, any like 20 pies at $5 a piece, like we can't do that. We're not even going to try to do that. So we feel like everyday menu pricing of $12, and it's unlimited toppings. So if I want to come in and just get a pepperoni pizza, $12. You want to come in and get 9 toppings on your pizza, it's $12. You feel like there's value there. But we've also just launched catering. We've just launched side salads. We've launched an Oreo dipper dessert. So now we feel like we have a complete meal. And pretty soon here, you'll start to see family bundles that we'll offer at night. So dinner only, you can come in now. It's still a good value, but it's not discounting. You'll get 2 pies, a dessert, and a salad for X price. And depending on what pies you want or depending on what salads you want, the price may vary. But it's still going to be super value driven.
All right. So circling back around to this idea of profitability, though, because again, it's easy to cut prices and say this is a long-term play, but I'm assuming your bottom line takes a hit. How do you protect that bottom line, without resorting to, well, let's just get a cheaper pepperoni or, some sort of cheaper product, or cut corners where we can? How do you balance those 2 things?
We've actually gone the other way. We've actually increased the quality of our food. We hand shred cheese in the house now. Or like pineapples cored and diced in house. Like we really want fresh ingredients. We feel like we get the food in your mouth. You'll notice that it's really strong quality, high quality, and you'll come back. For us, again, it's a volume play. I'd rather have, instead of 2 people coming in paying $16 or $17 for a pizza, I'd rather have 5 come in and spend $12. And we're also trying to drive people to our app. Like the $12 is only offered through our app, through our kiosk, in the restaurants. Third party is still, it's a higher price. So if you want the value driven products, McDonald's is doing the same thing. You have to come to us. So the P&L hasn't really taken a hit. Our average check is held about the same as people are coming in before getting a pizza, not adding a drink, not adding a cookie, not adding anything else. Now they're coming in and they're adding a drink, which is a high margin product for us, right? They're adding a dessert, which is a high margin product for us. So average checks kind of held, and they get more food for what they got before. So the value play is really there, but profitability really hasn't taken a hit because they're ordering on first party. We're not paying that markup on third party. So it's been a good play. We've gotten a lot of heat from, different other, restaurant podcasters that are saying, oh, it's a gimmick. This isn't going to last long. You guys are just doing this as a cash grab, which is crazy. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do. And Ant Pizza's always stood for that. Like, we're trying to do the right thing by the people. We were the first one to stand for the fight for 15. I feel like we were one of the first people to take value or price reduction. You've seen McDonald's do it now. You've seen KFC do it now. These other big players have done it. We feel like we were the first.
Yeah, for sure. All right, you mentioned family bundles. So, interesting, Ant Pizza, of course, getting its start more, I would say it emerged really with sort of that millennial professional, right? It came up in that era of sort of that millennial comes into disposable income, moves to the big city, and Pizza was there to kind of serve their lunch need and dinner need. Originally very much an urban kind of brand. And I know over time that has evolved into now it's becoming more suburban, but I am curious about your core demographic and how it's evolving. Because when you're thinking about things like a family bundle, of course, pizza is very much, like I said, Friday night pizza night, it's a family occasion or a group occasion of some kind. Are you seeing that demographic that comes to Ant Pizza evolve over time?
Yeah, we actually just did a research study. So we see that customers between the ages of 18 and 30 love us. Skews predominantly male in that age group, right? A lot of college kids, they love us. Then we have that gap from 30 to 40 where we're not getting those customers at all. But once you hit 40-year-old female, they come back in droves. To us, that shows us moms making the decision at home, or families are eating at home. It's takeout now. People have worked a long day. They've gone to school, work, whatever. Now so it's that 30 to 40 age gap. I feel like in your 30s, you're hanging on for dear life anyways. So to spend $20 for lunch is probably not in that. We're trying to get those customers a little bit, but we know we do really well, to your point, college campuses, urban, the lunchtime traffic, that's ages 18 to 30. Over 40, we do really well at dinner. So for us, the data shows us that if we continue to provide value to that age group, we can continue to drive that product. So bundles, family bundles. You don't have to have a family. You can have 3 roommates sitting around the house so they can get the same bundle. So we feel like we used to call it a stoner bundle. Now it's probably a family bundle. So we've evolved a little bit. But yeah, we feel like there's a play there. The data shows us that's who's coming. We skew predominantly under 30 male, over 40 female.
That's fascinating. Yeah,
it's fascinating.
Yeah, I'm in the waning days of my 30s now, and I've got 3 kids, and they, their standards are very low for pizza, right? So, and as we're just talking about with value and what's become of prices, anymore to feed my family of 5, I'm not feeding my family of 5 for less than $60, and so it depends on what are my priorities when I'm feeding my children who do not have very high standards for pizza yet. Yeah, I'm going the value play, but anybody, as you get older, you get into your 40s, you start, having a little bit of relief when it comes to your income maybe, or whatever it may be, or your kids have higher standards, then you start to look back to that more high quality offering. So it is fascinating when you say family bundle, obviously that gets my attention because that's what we're always looking for. So I want to talk about growth then, because like you said, you guys launched franchising. I know you've got some franchising news here in a bit we'll talk about, but just thinking about that concept of growth and then franchising, obviously franchisees, to your point, profitability is kind of their big thing. They want to invest in a business that's going to take care of them and provide for that lifestyle that they're looking for. So tell me about that communication process with yourself and with your franchisees and how you guys walk through a process like cutting prices together.
Yeah, I think we can't dictate franchise pricing. Now, luckily for us, the few that we have in the system have agreed to come along with our pricing. We really try to test it on the front end on the company side. I think it's important to have company restaurants when you're going to be a franchisor. You can test things, vet things out. We test a million things that don't make it. The $12 pricing worked. We tested in a subset of restaurants. We saw traffic go up in shop. So it's easy for us to sit down with that franchisee and say, hey, we did it in these 3 restaurants. You don't have to do it, but here's what it showed. Our food cost and labor line, even in DC where we're paying people over $20 an hour to start, is sub 58%. So we feel like that's really strong in the food category, especially in fast casual space. Our cost to build is pretty low. We have small boxes. We don't have Ansel systems and hoods. We just have ovens. So our cost to build is pretty low. Our food, labor, and paper line is low. We feel like we can drive margin at that price. Now, DC, where we're located, rent's really high. but we're not really expanding in the Northeast. The plan before is like New York and Boston. It doesn't make any sense for us. We're going Southeast. So if you can do the similar volume, pay way less in wages, pay way less in rent, the profitability, the middle of the P&L is really strong. For us, what hurts again is occupancy cost in DC.
Mhm.
If you're going to build in North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, like rent's significantly cheaper, labor's significantly cheaper, which drives even more benefit. Like we had a franchisee sign and they said, "Hey, can I do this for $11?" I'm like, "Sure, have at it." Like, I'm not like, go knock your socks off. So like, it's a pretty good value play for the franchisee as well, because there's strong profitability at $12.
Okay, to that point, you guys have news that you're breaking. I think all those states that you mentioned, you guys are ready to make this move into the Southeast. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, we've had a lot of interest. We launched franchising in March, like we spoke about. We just added a tab to our website and like the floodgates opened, which is really cool, which tells you a lot about the brand. We've been very selective on who we've chosen to be a franchisee. Like, we don't have an office in DC, so when they come for Discovery Day, they have to sit in the restaurant. So music's really loud. We don't turn it down for them. The employees are who the employees are, like hats on backwards. Like, it's a fun environment. And if you can't hang in that environment for a 2-hour Discovery Day or a 3-hour Discovery Day, you're not the right fit for us. We've turned people away. Like, "Hey, this music's too loud." Like, "Hey, can that guy put a name tag on?" It's like, "Hey, you're not probably our people. Like, go talk to the other guys." But we've narrowed it down to different groups, and I feel it's like you're like date, right? You go through the whole courting process and you figure out if it's the right fit for everybody. But we're fortunate enough to have signed 4 different franchise groups to 3 shops apiece, which we feel like that's our sweet spot right now, because we want them to kind of run the first one, figure out what it's like to run an and pizza, make money, and then build the second and third. So we've found 4 all near all college towns. Orlando is a big one for us, a 3-shop deal in Orlando. It's going to be the first restaurant we think to be right near Central Florida. We have a 3-shop deal in the Raleigh market, so it'll be probably near Chapel Hill, will be their first restaurant. We've got Atlanta, a 3-shop deal. Georgia Tech will be a spot that they'll be near. And the 4th one's Charleston, South Carolina. And there's a ton of traffic and visitors and colleges and stuff down there. So we feel like those are 4 really strong markets for us. They all have strong restaurant backgrounds. So we're super stoked. The first restaurant should probably open in May of next year. But we're excited about this.
So you guys are really leaning into that data that showed you 18 to 30 is a strong spot for you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So are you going for then, it seems like, especially if you go for a college town. I mean, obviously, look, college town, the late night, I'm sure, is something big for the college town. But then walking traffic, I mean, is when you're doing site selection in a college town, especially, I mean, are those the things that you're thinking about? Is I want a walking traffic near campus that's going to be open late?
Yeah, and also have to do enough volume from September to May to offset the summer when the college kids go home. So a few of the franchise groups have approached us like, "Hey, can we have a food truck?" So while we're building, they'll buy a food truck. They'll have the food truck near or on campus for like 3 or 4 months while the restaurant's being built. Really drive habits that they love and pizza. And then when the restaurant opens, they'll be familiar with the brand. So we think that's the right play. We'll start advertising on social media big time, targeting those audiences before we move in. But yeah, college kids, we have a few restaurants open late in DC that do more volume from 11 o'clock at night to 3 in the morning than they do the whole rest of the day. So like we thrive on that foot traffic near clubs and bars. When they close, we're still open. And again, the party continues. You come in, the music's still loud, and you can still do your own thing. So it's not stale at all.
So the franchisees, I mean, as you guys are recruiting franchisees, if I think about pizza franchising, I mean, probably so many of the brands are just so many franchisees are shut out of the major brands, right? Because you know, Domino's, I know, has a preference for you have to kind of come up through the system. You kind of basically have to start as a driver at Domino's, and then you know, Pizza Hut and some of these other chains. It's like you've got to be have a massive portfolio to be able to afford some of these franchises. So what does that mean as far as who is coming to In Pizza for franchising? Is it a lot more sort of mom and pop type franchisees?
We've had some mid-sized franchisees. They're not ready to disclose their names yet, but we've got groups that own other things, whether it's other restaurants in the Southeast that this kind of plays well, complements them. They're trying to diversify their portfolio. We have one group that this is their first restaurant experience. They've had it for a while, then they went and did something else. They want to come back. But we're pretty diverse, but it's easy to operate. Again, we sell one thing. So like we can teach you how to make a pizza in like a couple hours. It's running the restaurant that will teach you. We'll be very hands-on. That's why we want people to start with 3, run the first one, open the second 2, and really get your hands dirty. And then the big thing for franchisees, they want to make money. So we feel like, again, low cost to build, low food, low labor, simple operations, small square footage. Like there's no parking lots. There's no outdoor area. It's 1,100 square feet, very limited seating, have fun. We think it's a fun place to work. Sure. And the franchisees that have signed, they spend significant amount of times in our restaurants before they sign the deal. and they all have that walk away with like, this is a fun place to work. We want them to feel like they're part of a family too.
Yeah. All right, so Mike, I'm curious to get your impression of just the state of things for pizza in the broader restaurant industry, because, all the conversations I have with folks is traffic is flat or negative, right? Everybody's dealing with traffic issues. Obviously, inflation still being an issue, labor still being an issue. I mean, it's all these issues that have dogged the restaurant industry since COVID. They're just still kind of hanging around. And, broadly speaking, a lot of restaurant companies are not able to grow right now. And we actually see a lot of restaurant companies looking internationally for growth, because the US just right now, for a variety of reasons, it's really tough to grow. And there are so many doggone restaurants. There's just a lot of options out there for customers who are pulling back on their spend. So in that environment, how is And Pizza able to both, cut prices and grow? I mean, how are you seeing things, the economic climate, macro conditions really affect this brand and yet still, grow?
I think we kind of tell people to buy the dip, right? Like this is similar to 2008 when the restaurant recession was hitting. Nobody was growing. People were closing. Nobody had any money. I was at Bojangles at the time. The CEO had a meeting with everybody, and he looked at us all in the eye and said, we're not participating in this. If you want to participate in the recession, there's the door, get out. Mm-hmm. And we've kind of done the same thing. Like, we're not changing things. Like, when you see our competitors, like raising prices. Restaurants are closing because prices are too high and people aren't coming in. They have very limited dollars to spend. They have to make a choice. We feel like we have better food than the other guy. We feel like our prices are more competitive than the other guy. We feel like we're more fun than the other guy. So we're really trying to like drive people to us. We're not like making fun of anybody else. We're not saying don't go here, but like, we feel like we have a great product, a great offering, a great price. Come to us. And we feel like if you do, look what Chili's is doing. They've done the right thing. Yeah. Like, they've created a value menu for people to come in. I can go to Chili's and get a burger, fry, and a drink for $10, or I can go to McDonald's, burger, fry, a drink for $10. Like, I'd rather go to Chili's. So we're trying to do the same thing here. Like, those guys paved the way. And I think that's the model. Like, they're thriving right now.
Yeah. All right, Mike, last question for you. Let's look around the corner then to what's coming, because, you talk about buying that dip. We've been in that dip for a while. It's really hard. And nobody has the crystal ball to know like when things really pick back up. But you mentioned playing that long game, that like we're playing for 3 years out from now. If you look 3 years out from now, where do you see And Pizza being? What do you think is possible for this brand in the coming years?
I see us having a pipeline of 200 to 300 restaurants under development. Right. I think we'll won't all be built in the next 3 years. Right. But we'll have franchisees signed. You mentioned international. We have some international discussions going on as well. That'll be part of that pipeline. We'll continue to fill out the Southeast. We have some news that we're probably going to open a restaurant in the Southwest at some point pretty soon. So we're excited about that as well. Really strong. People want to grow in the Southeast and Southwest with us. We fit those markets. There's not a big pizza market. You don't go to like, Phoenix and you're like, I got to go to this pizza place. Like, there isn't one. Like, DC was kind of like that too. And we're kind of that place in DC now. We're going into markets that there's a need for really good pizza, that we can put some strong presence in there, run really well, do some fun things. We'll be part of the communities. Like, we'll invest back in the communities. We'll donate to schools. We'll help like with fundraisers, like that kind of stuff. We want to be part of what they're doing, which is for us, like, if you're me, a franchisee, you have to be a partner with the franchisor. And that's what the ampersand's always stood for. Like we talked about earlier, is unity, collectiveness, being unique. And we feel like going to the markets we're going to go in with the franchisees that have selected us to partner with, like, we've set that up for success. But pricing for us is a big driver. We continue to see people take pricing and they hide it, right? Like, I went to a QSR restaurant that I'd gone to a million times. Now they're charging 55 cents for an extra sauce. Like, it's crazy. So we're not playing that game. So,
well, exciting to see. Mike Burns, CEO of And Pizza. Really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for sharing the story of And Pizza. That was my interview with And Pizza CEO Mike Burns. So what should you learn from this interview? Here are my 5 takeaways. My first takeaway is that with operations and marketing tweaks, sleepy brands can come alive. Mike has had an interesting career. He has spent time at Bojangles, Raving Brands, which is parent to Pizza Inn, and Payway. And these are some companies that have a lot of brand equity built into them, that customers really love these brands, especially in the regions where they operate. And Mike was making the point, especially with Payway and Pizza Inn, those are a couple of concepts that he got to experience, really transforming them by leaning into what made those brands so special in the first place. And he was saying, it all comes down to operations and marketing. This actually makes a lot of sense when you consider Chili's and what has brought Chili's back from the brink in the past 3 years. That CEO, Kevin Hochman, really leaned into operational improvements, and a great marketing strategy. Now, this is not an easy thing to do, right? You don't snap your fingers and make operations and marketing happen. So I don't want to downplay how much work really does go into this. But I appreciated Mike's point that with changes in operations, with changes in marketing, you can bring a brand back to life because it has that brand equity already built into it. This was what he was telling me when he talked about his perspective on And Pizza when he came into this role. And Pizza, it has always been known as a very vibey kind of place. It's cool, it's fun, it's hip. But it had hit a point where it needed a new direction. And when Mike came into it, he recognized that customers gave it credit for being cool and hip, but there were some changes that needed to be made to get it back to growth. And that's what he is in the middle of doing. He's been there now for about 2 years, and he's making operational changes and he's making marketing changes to help get this brand back to growth mode. My second takeaway is that even in this economy, you have to strategize in years, not months. So it's easy to look at this economy and say, oh, well, my restaurant is struggling. Things are going badly. I need to, cut this or make this change or have this marketing play for the next couple of months. Often in an economy like this, it feels like survival. You're just trying to keep your head above water. But Mike makes the point that, when you do that, you put yourself in a bad position for the long term. And then at the end of the day, you have to think in the long term. Mike said that he's planning right now for 2 to 3 years out, not 2 to 3 months out, because that is what can make a business healthier and more viable, of course, for the long term. And the point specifically is that, when it comes to especially prices, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, when you cut prices, when you raise prices, you're often thinking on more of that short-term schedule. You're thinking about, how do I improve my profitability in the short run just to survive this season as costs go up? But down the road, 2 to 3 years down the road, you kind of backed yourself into a corner with those increased prices. I really appreciate this point that at every change you make to your business today, you should be making it through the filter of, where does this position my brand in a couple of years rather than a couple of months? My third takeaway is that cutting price today is not a gimmick, but a volume play. There have been a number of restaurants, not just And Pizza, that have cut their prices, and they made a big deal about it in their marketing, announcing that they were lowering prices even as others increased them. And, for some, maybe it is just a ploy. Maybe it is kind of a marketing gimmick. But Mike is really sensitive to And Pizza's being called that, which he says, some have called it out as being just a gimmick. When he says, no, it's not about a gimmick. It's, again, going back to this sort of long-term strategy that they're putting out there. Because I love what he says, that this is a matter of getting more customers in the door. He says he wants 5 customers coming in and paying $12 instead of 2 customers coming in and paying $15. Because if you get those 5 customers who come in and they fall in love with the brand, they might come back into the restaurant down the road, become loyal guests, and increase that volume of customers who are coming into the restaurant and falling in love with your brand. The other point he made too is that, right now for customers who are coming in, embracing this lower price point, they're also ordering drinks more often and they're ordering desserts more often, which they weren't doing when the prices were previously a little bit more expensive. So he got into it. I don't need to rehash all the ways in which they've really kind of protected that profitability in this season. But the point that he's making here again is that he's trying to get more people to come into an And Pizza, because if they come into an And Pizza and they fall in love with the product, they fall in love with the branding, they're going to come back, and then they're going to come back again and again and again. And the way you get them to come in is with that lower price point. So you have to think about this, again, as a long-term play for foot traffic rather than we're trying to get everybody's attention in our marketing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to announce this in your marketing, but I am trying to say, treat it less as that ploy and more as that tool to build business for the long term. My fourth takeaway is that your most important customer is the returning customer. So again, that's exactly it. You're trying to get people in the restaurant, and then you're trying to get them to come back. And in order to get them to come back, there are a couple of things that need to happen. They need to love the product. They need to love the experience. They need to see value in your restaurant, and they need to have some ease of accessibility to your product. In other words, you have to build this relationship with them through all of these different means. And, for And Pizza, as Mike said, they felt like they had the quality product and they had the quality experience. But now they've built in this value with a lower price point. And he also mentioned that as they re-examine their digital tools, their ordering, they've gotten it down to where you can order a pizza with just 2 or 3 clicks on your phone, making it as simple as possible to access the menu. And so all of these factors play into having somebody commit to a brand as, I'm going to go back to that brand. I loved the experience I had there, so I want to go back. Again, as I was mentioning before, all of this is really about building that foot traffic, building your large stable of loyal customers, and having them be in love with the brand and build a relationship with the brand so that they're coming back again and again and again. My fifth and final takeaway is that you should buy the dip on today's economy. I asked for Mike's advice on, what he really thinks operators should be doing today. That's how he responded. He said, buy the dip, buy low, because when the market is low, you can take advantage of when it climbs and goes high, right? It's an age-old adage, but it's hard to remember in days like today where the economy is so brutally tough for some businesses and certainly kind of unprecedented. But I love the story that he shared when he was at Bojangles during the recession of 15 years ago, and how his leaders at the time said, we're not participating in this recession. In other words, we're going to treat this as business as usual, and we'll make it on the other side, out on the other side, stronger than we were than all of our competitors. Same thing goes for today, and that's the point Mike is trying to make with all of these changes that they're making, with their, slashing prices, with really, increasing the quality of their product and taking care of their employees, taking care of the guests, even when it seems like it might not be the profitable thing to do. He says, where all the others are responding to these economic factors and again, kind of reacting in this sort of 2 to 3 months out mentality, he is occupying different space. He is treating it like business as usual, because then they'll come out the other side in a stronger position than their competitors. Those are all my takeaways for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please remember to subscribe to Takeaway wherever you listen to podcasts and leave your feedback. You can also email me at sam.oches@informa.com. Thanks again, and talk to you next week.